You might think that the best outside zone run game in the entire NFL must come from the Shanahan cinematic universe. The Niners, the Dolphins, maybe even the Packers, but nope, you'd be wrong. It's actually the Baltimore Ravens.
The train is rolling! The King scores again!
Here he goes! Breaks a tackle!
All right, what he said! Derrick Henry has put the Ravens in position to wrap it up!
They only ran outside zone 26% of the time last year. That was just 17th among all teams. And yet their efficiency on outside zone was easily the best in the NFL. They averaged 6.4 yards per carry on that run concept, a full yard ahead of second place. And specifically on outside runs last season, Next Gen Stats had Derrick Henry averaging 2.5 yards before contact last season, third among all running backs with at least 75 outside carries. But it's not just the fact that the Ravens are the best outside zone team in the NFL that intrigues me. The actual interesting part is how they became the best outside zone team in the NFL. And you can kind of think of their approach similar to how a boxer lands a combo. They throw the jab, then the cross, and then they land the big left hook for the finisher. That is how the Ravens like to run the ball.
Here's Henry, left side. There he goes!
To talk you through how it all works, let's first start with how outside zone functions, generally speaking, of course. Outside zone or wide zone are east-west run concepts, not north to south, meaning the track for the running back is going to be fairly lateral, and the goal is to get the defense to flow with that lateral track. If the offensive line wins to the front side, then congratulations, you just got the edge and Henry can put his speed to work. But most of the time, it's the defense that's going to win to the front side because they have an alignment advantage there. And that's okay, that's by design. If the defense wins to the front side edge, then that lets the offensive line just pin them to that front side and open up a cutback lane up the gut. We've seen slashing backs succeed in this one-cut style of run for decades now, like Terrell Davis, Arian Foster, and of course, Derrick Henry.
Gives it to Henry, off left tackle, big hold!
But just because outside zone is a well-designed, highly successful run concept that's been proven over the decades, doesn't mean that there's no weaknesses to it. The easiest way to stop an outside or wide zone run is penetration. If you can either get into the backfield, or even better, shove one of the offensive linemen into the backfield to disrupt that lateral track early, then that's going to force the runner to cut back earlier than the concept intends, and it creates kind of a logjam that can lead to tackles for loss. Penetration is the enemy. It always has been, and it always will be. And that's a big reason why most of the time you're going to see defensive coordinators try to blitz a lot to stop this style of run. If you look at the Ravens' average yards before contact per attempt, on outside zone runs specifically against blitzes, their average yards before contact was 1.3, which is okay. It's not great, but it's solid. But on outside zone runs where there was not a blitz, and therefore likely less penetration into the backfield, that average yards before contact shot all the way up to 3.3, which is ridiculously high. That means that Henry got a gigantic, more than 3-yard head of steam on almost every outside zone run against defensive fronts that were not playing him aggressively. And that right there is the primary reason why his total yards per carry also shot up to 6.6 on outside zone runs where the defense was not blitzing. But of course, that then probably brings up the main question on your mind right now, which is, okay, if penetration slows down that big left hook from the Ravens, all these explosive runs on outside zone, then why are we not trying to penetrate every play? Like, why are defensive coordinators not just blitzing as much as humanly possible and telling their defensive linemen to attack and attack and attack and just get upfield? Like, what are we missing here? What's so hard about stopping this? Well, remember, everything the Ravens do is with intention. They're not just going to start with that big left hook. First, they're going to set it up with jabs and crosses. Or, when it comes to the Ravens' run game, power, counter, and trap. Power runs, counter runs, pin and pulls, and trap runs in particular punish aggression more than other concepts. It's all about using that penetration against a defense to pin the defenders in positions where they can't get to the ball. So the Ravens oftentimes dial up power, counter, pin and pulls, and trap runs in the first half of games so that they can scare defenses into not trying to penetrate so much. The best example I can give is the first play from scrimmage for Baltimore back in Week 4 of last season against Buffalo. With fullback Patrick Ricard lined up off the line of scrimmage here, Buffalo is anticipating a zone sift concept where Ricard goes across the formation on a sift block to cut off the backside edge, while the rest of the line does their normal outside zone combo blocks. So Ed Oliver is thinking the same thing here that any other defensive lineman would. Get upfield into the B gap, hit this guard on their outside shoulder, and disrupt the path of the running back to force that early cutback. That's stopping outside zone 101, as we talked about before. But again, this is not actually outside zone. It's a trap concept known as crunch. You've got 3 wham blocks here, while 2 more offensive linemen just instantly slip through and release up to the second level, and by the time Oliver even knows what's happening, he's already sealed into a bad position. He's got no angle here, and neither does the Mike linebacker, nor the play side edge. Henry presses that edge to keep him outside and make this block easier on his right tackle, and then he puts his foot in the ground and explodes downhill so he can find Mark Andrews and run off his hip. 87 yards later, Henry hit the end zone.
Here goes Henry off a big running day against Dallas. Derrick Henry on the run. Hamlin and Lewis chasing at the 40, at the 30. He will score!
It's these kinds of runs that make defenses terrified of penetrating against Baltimore because you never know when they're going to punish you for it. It forces defenses into being passive and, from a technique standpoint, playing more of a react-attack approach rather than attack-react. Those of you that are familiar with very niche defensive line technique terminology are going to know what I'm talking about there, but for 99% of you that don't watch old Pete Jenkins LSU clinics in your spare time, here's what I mean by that. Let's look at this run against Denver. This is a second half carry with the call, of course, being outside zone, and just look at how the DTs are playing it. This is called a react-attack technique as opposed to attack-react, and just like it sounds, that means that you're reacting before you attack. The stance is wider and more square, the defensive lineman reads and reacts with the first step, and they flow with the block laterally first before attacking. If you go back and watch Ed Oliver on that long touchdown, he was attacking first and then reacting. This is the opposite. And there's no right or wrong choice between the two approaches, by the way, but each technique does have different strengths and weaknesses against different run concepts. And if your first step as a defensive lineman against outside zone is lateral rather than vertical, and they catch you with that first little jab into the chest on the combo block to keep you from attacking, well, then there's basically nothing that can save you from what happens next. If you don't get upfield and penetrate and wedge yourself between the back hip of the guard and the front shoulder of the center on this block, you're just done. Flat out finished, especially against a running back like Henry who can just run through arm tackles with ease. You got no shot here.
And he's all the way down to the Denver 18-yard line. First down, Ravens.
In terms of the frequency of calling different run concepts, the Ravens were 23rd in calling outside zone in the first half of games last year, but they were 13th in the second half. So they really dialed it up more as the game went on. But again, the key to remember is not just the huge jump in the amount they called it late, but also the huge jump in the effectiveness of the concept as well. Their first half yards per attempt on outside zone was 4.5, which is good, of course, but not incredible. But their second half yards per attempt on outside zone, after buttering defenses up with everything else, was a monstrously high 6.5 yards per attempt. And it's not just because the Ravens break you down physically over the course of a game. I mean, they do, but that's not everything. They also break you down mentally, too. They make you not want to meet their aggression with aggression of your own, out of fear of punishment. And so by the end of the game, when they're the only team left on the field being aggressive, they just lean on you over and over and over again until you break. It's beautiful. Terrifying, yes, but also beautiful. That's all for me today, but I encourage you guys to also go watch the Ravens run game for yourself. All of the All-22 that we looked at today is available over on NFL Pro, on NFL Plus Premium, and you can generate different cut-ups of different players. I mean, you don't even have to just look at the Ravens run game. You can look at any run game you want to. All the data, all the film, they have everything over on NFL Pro. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon.